Hey everybody, Steven here. I got a comment and the person was wondering where should they start? If they're just starting out, what are some resources that they can look to that'll help them along their fitness journey? And today's video is just going to be really me covering a handful of things I think everybody should kind of look into. There are a lot of different sources out there. These are really, really good ones in my opinion. And we're going to start kind of with the foundation of movement and then build from there. And I'll talk a little bit about each one, how they're different, what it builds to. There's a lot of overlap with modalities these days as well. So we're seeing more of an integration of movement in terms of you can only do this style, which there are some that I'm going to cover that are a little bit more like that, but even with that, they still have some good information. It's just you have to be careful when it becomes, all right, my modality is the only way, right? If you start dealing with that and it becomes so exclusive to anything else, that's where I think you can run into trouble, just because there is no one way or one thing fits all type of approach. There are very foundational things that I think everybody needs to know in terms of movement, but everybody can learn from everybody, right? It's not a my way is the only way type of approach, right? With that being said, I do want to start off with restorative exercise and Katy Bowman. She's a biomechanist that lives out in Washington. I've done a ton of her different workshops. One of my training buddies is actually a certified restorative exercise instructor, Aaron Balch, and that to me is very foundational. She's looking, because when you're looking at what a biomechanist does, we're looking at kind of movement and everything that goes on at the cellular level, right? And then building out from there. And her approach to me is how we're supposed to move as humans, which lends itself more into integrating into MovNat, which I'll cover here in a little bit. But hers, we look at the effects of raised heel shoes and what that does to your body, and why you should transition to going barefoot and switching over to minimal shoes. What happens when the thoracic spine, our upper back, is really, really tight, how that affects the system. Looking at exercise as just this small portion of our overall sphere of exercise, right? So she has a diagram where we look at kind of like the sphere of exercise, like this whole thing is your all your movement patterns, and then exercise is just this little dot within that. So we're really looking at how we move all the time, and then we can take some of those things and apply it to how we move inside the gym, or if we're training outside, or if we're doing other sports, or whatever it may be. So hers is very, very foundational in my opinion. Restorative exercise is the name of it. She has a ton of books. It's like 9 or 10 books at this point. Move Your DNA, I recommend for everybody to read. I've also read her foot pain book. There's a lot of different stretching techniques in there. There's a lot of different things that deal with posture and how we can get in alignment, right? And that's so key for if we're going to start there and then transition to anything else. Like I said, we want to make sure that we have that foundation built up so that we don't hurt ourselves, right? And then looking at movement outside of the context of just what you do in the gym. I did a blog, and it actually stemmed out of something that she said. And in the blog, I looked at, all right, if you train, let's say 3 hours a week with me, in the totality of your week, that's really like, I think it was 1.5% of your overall week. And you're hoping that 1.5% is going to kind of fix everything else. And that's just, I can't bet on those odds, right? I need to be moving more outside of that. Getting down and to the floor without using your hands, or using your hands in a highly structured way, sitting on the floor. That's a challenge that I give to everybody that I got from Katy's system, which is, can you sit on the floor and watch like a TV show, or do you have to sit in a chair? What is that doing to your body because you're sitting in a chair? What are these static positions doing to your body? So very foundational. I'll put links to all this stuff in the description box so you can find not only information on these different modalities and people, but also if they have books or anything like that, you can find that as well. Moving from restorative exercise, MovNat, and I'm a certified MovNat instructor. Erwan Le Corre is the creator of that, and Danny Clark runs MovNat right now. I've met so many amazing different movers within that community, and we look at inherent movement skills we need to possess as a species, right? Being able to get up and down off the ground without using our hands, being able to crawl in various positions, being able to climb a tree, all these things, and just how we're inherently supposed to move. And that to me is something that everybody in one way or another, whether it's through MovNat or another natural movement type system, should be practicing. It is just practical, right? We've moved so far away from all of that stuff that we've lost a lot of things, in my opinion. We've lost strength and mobility and stability and flexibility just because we don't move like we're intended to move. So MovNat has a lot of structure to it. It's taught in a very structured manner. Katy has actually done some of the workshops, and I believe her husband is actually a certified level 2 or 3 trainer at this point. And one of the things that she said is, like, if you're struggling with MovNat, restorative exercise pairs so well with that, because it kind of we're going to take somebody that's maybe a couple hundred steps away from doing MovNat and slowly, progressively get them there. So restorative exercise is taking somebody that needs a lot of work in regards to if they have injuries, if they have limitations where they can't quite do everything in the MovNat system, and creating that foundation and getting them there. So these two things pair very, very well together. I know I integrate both of these into my own practice with myself and with my clients. So MovNat, and theirs is going to be structured in terms of, like, once you actually learn a lot of the movements and you're going to classes or whatever it may be, or you go to a workshop or you get certified, they actually send out workouts as well, where they're not just kind of saying, all right, just move like this in general. There's structure to it, and there's a program to it, and that's what I really love about the MovNat system as well. And once we go outside, we can say, oh, this is where these things that I've been learning apply, right? I like to go hiking, and I can see, oh, and there's terminology, creating points of support, and body weight shift, and body weight transfer, and doing a combined center of gravity when I'm lifting something. All of these things, very, very important for the totality of how we move, right? We're supposed to be in motion, right? We're not supposed to be static. And that's where a lot of the different health things that you see in the news are coming from, right? Sitting is the new smoking. Well, it's really the static position. Not that I'm supposed to sit in a chair all the time, because there's implications with that. But if I do, how do I unwind that? How do I kind of go to that other side where I can kind of undo some of the stuff that I'm doing if I'm going to go to a job where I'm going to have to sit? Maybe I transition to a stand-up desk. Well, if I'm just going to stand still, that's still going to have the implication of I'm in a static position. This is where I could turn to Katy's system. All right, let's do a calf stretch. Why do I need to do calf stretch? What is that doing for my body? And you're going to learn all of these things and build upon that. So natural movement in terms of MovNat, restorative exercise, right? Getting ourselves to a position where we just move overall better and looking at movement outside of just a workout, right? Next, Ido Portal's method. If nobody knows who Ido is, Conor McGregor, the MMA fighter. So this is one of his movement trainers, right? Ido's method, where MovNat is more structured, Ido's method is more kind of just exploring movement in general. He has a quote: there is no bad movement or wrong movement, just movement, right? Looking and trying, he always says, I'm trying to peel back that next layer of what the body can do, right? What my movement can do. So when you look at some of his stuff, it almost looks like interpretive dance, or maybe like break dancing to a small degree, or maybe it kind of does look like MovNat, or it even looks like parkour, or it looks like they're just playing games. They do all of that stuff. I like Ido's stuff just because he is just trying to figure out what are we capable of. He's doing flips, and he's doing rolling around on the ground, and they're doing tennis ball games and soccer games, and they're doing tag games and all this stuff. And then looking at that is more the exploration side of what can we do as a species. A lot of times people look at that though, and they're like, man, I can't do all of that stuff, and that's okay. He's not going to push you there, but can you dribble a tennis ball with your hands, right? Just playing. And he says a thing that I love, which is that play precedes us. Because if I'm looking at animals, they always play. And he says if I look towards the animal kingdom, they play into adulthood, right? There's something that they're learning with that. They're honing a skill. They're always keeping that skill sharp. And that's how we should be, right? We should always continue to play. Unfortunately, we stop playing, right? Even at school, if you're looking at kids when they go to school, my son's 9 years old. They give him small portions of time to play, and they get to go do the monkey bars and all that. But once they get out of elementary, that's gone, right? we take those things away. And because you're not hanging anymore, and you're not sitting in these deep squats, these seated squats anymore, we slowly lose those things. It's very much a use it or lose it. So Ido's method, very, very important on the play side and the exploring movement side. Like I said, it's not as highly structured as MovNat is. So one of the things he said, I get a lot of people coming up to me saying, man, I've done your workouts. And he's like, no, you haven't. He's like, because they're not structured like these other systems and these modalities are. So just look into what he does. If you can go to a workshop or anything like that, they are very, very expensive. I haven't, unfortunately, been able to go to any because I haven't had any that have been close, or it's just been bad timing and I don't have $1,200 to go to a workshop. But ton of stuff on social media and YouTube that you can look into, right? Just start exploring your body. Rafe Kelley, I've been fortunate enough to train with him. He actually started out in the parkour community. He trained under Erwan for a while. They, I guess, had a philosophical disagreement. He branched off. He created Evolve, Move, Play. His is like a weird in-between where he's like in between Ido's method and MovNat. There's a lot of play. I mean, Evolve, Move, Play, right? There's a lot of different things that you see from the parkour community, a lot of things that I've seen that Ido's done before with tennis balls and playing games. They roughhouse. He does a ton of different things that I think are he's just a great kind of evolution of these two systems and like a marriage of it. And he's created a whole bunch of stuff on his own. Very, very smart guy in terms of movement, the philosophy behind movement, looking at evolution of our species and the implications of movement in regards to that, communication between each other. There's a lot of great stuff that Rafe does. And he's just a phenomenal mover also. I mean, I've seen this dude run up trees and grab on and do muscle ups and stuff like that. That's 15, 20 feet in the air. Flips off all this stuff. And it's not to say that he's going to push you to do that stuff, but he is very skillful, very knowledgeable. And a lot of the stuff that I got to learn from him just in the day that I got to train with him in terms of brachiation, which is swinging, and how our shoulders operate, and the implications of not doing that movement anymore and what it does to your body over time, specifically with your shoulders. So Rafe has a ton of content out there as well, and he looks into, he has podcasts and all types of stuff that are out there, so that's a great source to look into. Moving more towards like more structured exercise stuff, Kelly Starrett with MWAD, which is mobility WOD, workout of the day. Kelly Starrett is a physical therapist, highly knowledgeable in terms of trying to do soft tissue drills, myofascial release, teaching you what that is. So if I have an injury and I'm trying to kind of work with my tissue and figure out how to correct that or improve that, whatever it may be, Kelly's a phenomenal resource. He deals more in the CrossFit world, which I know some people have problems with that, but I think that is always dependent upon the coach, and Kelly's a good coach. I don't agree with everything that Kelly does in terms of some of his squat cues, but I do like a lot of his soft tissue drills and a lot of his correctives, a lot of his different things where you can take the corrective or the soft tissue drill, the myofascial release drill, and then incorporate that into whatever program you're going to have. All right, man, my knees are agitating me. Well, I can actually then use some of his stuff, work on that before I go do the squats, and I can help with that as opposed to just going in there and doing the squats and potentially hurting myself. So Kelly is a great resource for anybody. He puts out an insane amount of content as well. So Kelly Starrett is a good resource. Nadi Aguilar with functional patterns. He's a very much, if you're not with us, you're against us kind of mentality when it comes to his modality. But, and I don't like that about him. Me and him have actually gotten in arguments online. But he still pumps out really good information. It's just I have to kind of separate myself from some of the comments that he says, where it's basically he dogs anything else that isn't his. He has beef with Ido Portal. He has beef with all the different people in the strength community and the powerlifting community, the natural movement community. He dogs all these guys because unfortunately functional patterns, there's a lot of outcry that people don't agree with that, some of the stuff that he does, and he has seen a lot of hate, and because of that he's kind of hating everybody back, and isn't a win situation for anybody, but he does have great information. I don't agree with everything. I've actually trained at functional patterns before, and they have just a completely different take on a lot of things that we learn in the natural movement community, but it's still highly valuable in my opinion. I can take these things and overlap them and figure out what's best for my own personal body and my clients individually. So functional patterns, it's not a place I might start because you're going to want to really go train with some of these guys, but just looking at some of the soft tissue stuff that they do, some of the movement stuff that's not highly complex, because a lot of it is very complex, but eventually taking my body to there. But you can go visit them in Seattle, Washington. They have a facility out there. So functional patterns is really, really good. And then I'm going to end with, if you want to get more into like the powerlifting stuff, you can look towards, I think it's Mark Ripito and some of these other guys that are really, really good. Mark Bell is on the strength and powerlifting side, or you could look towards strongmen, right? And kind of meld more towards that side, but I'm not highly educated on that side. I've trained with these guys, but I'm not as far as like certified and all of that. I've always pushed more towards correctives, post-rehab, medical exercise, and on that side. But Mark Ripito, I believe, has, I can't remember the name, the book on strength that's phenomenal, that a lot of my buddies, that's kind of their strength training Bible, right? But I do want to end with Pavel, and I always pronounce his name wrong, Tatsulin. He's credited with kind of one of the guys that brought the kettlebell over to America. Russian kettlebell certification is one of the ones that he created. He left that, created Strong First. I've trained with Dustin Ripito under Strong First. And one of my clients that's a success story for me is actually now a Russian kettlebell certified trainer, and she's teaching me a lot. It's always been a weak point for me. I've trained with a lot of trainers that do that. I haven't particularly put a lot of time into that, but everything that I've learned from that is just so foundational if you're going to touch this very, very versatile piece of equipment. And you're going to get strength with that, power. I mean, you're going to learn a lot of different things about the body that transfer to outside the gym. So if you can find a kettlebell certified trainer, that's going to really serve you. Whether that's Strong First, Dragon Door is another one, or Russian kettlebell certified, you're going to want to start there. Don't just watch a video and think you can do this stuff. That can end bad. You're going to need somebody to really help you because it's so technical. But once you learn this, it's going to improve everything with your body. And it does as a total body workout, and there's so much that you can really do with that kettlebell. So definitely recommend looking into just the kettlebells. You don't necessarily, I mean, Pavel's a great resource. That dude writes like crazy and creates a lot of content. He's super smart. But just looking into Strong First, the RKC or Dragon Door will really help you out. Last bonus one, with the last couple of minutes I got here, medical exercise. So that's what I'm certified in as well. We call it post-rehab. Dr. Mike is the one that created that. You can look into videos with that, and that's really if I have problems, patellofemoral syndrome. I've hurt my, I've actually personally dislocated both shoulders, right? So looking into that, and working on that, and lower back pain. I have lumbar problems, right? I have thoracic spine problems. This is where we can really look in, all right, here's the correctives that I need to do with that. And essentially we take over after you've left the physical therapy, and we manage the medical condition. And that can really help a lot of people as well. So hopefully that helps anybody. I know that's a lot of information. That's just scratching the surface. There is so much information out there that we didn't get into. Animal flow stuff, grip training, dynamic neuromuscular stabilization, right? There's just so much stuff that you could learn out there. The Onnit Academy, right? Looking at other just strength training certs that are going to be more on the Onnit side that we could talk about. But hopefully that helps anybody that had some questions. Start with restorative exercise, move towards MovNat or Evolve Move Play, Ido's method, and then look into that strength training. You need that strength training component to any program. So, if you liked the video, hit the like button for me. If you want to continue to follow along with all these videos, please hit the subscribe button for me. Thanks so much for watching.